Hello, hi there. Welcome to our next episode of Health and Faith Chat with Chinedu. How are you doing today? Hopefully, you are ready and excited for the weekend coming up. Well, today we're going to talk just briefly about the law of sowing and reaping. The law of sowing and reaping is a law that is found basically in nature, in everything that we do. It basically says the following thing. You always reap what you sow, right? I mean, have you ever heard of the thing people always say, whatever you do is going to come back to you? Yes, it is absolutely true. It is the law of God, it is the law of nature, it's the law that governs everything that we do. But I want to take it a little bit further. I've heard it being said that you will usually reap later than you sow, right? While you're sowing, you will usually reap later than you sow, and you will always reap more than you sow. Now, that's whether good or whether that's bad. You're always going to reap later, and you're always going to reap more. So it calls for us to pause and to say, how's my sowing? Because if I'm sowing good, I'm going to reap good. If I'm sowing bad, I'm going to reap bad. So it's God's law. And sometimes we don't always sit and think about, what's going on in our lives. Sometimes when we look at our lives, we should take a total assessment and say, I wonder how my sowing life is. And why are these things happening or that thing's happening? So, but don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that all the good things that are happening in your life are because of your sowing good things, or all the quote bad things that are happening in your life or because you have sowed bad. Not necessarily, because there are things that are out of our control. But I am saying there is definitely a correlation between our sowing and our reaping. And that's important for us to know. And just so that we will live wisely. I want to point you to the scripture, Galatians 6, verses 7 to 8. It says, where do I get this from? I get this from the scripture. It says, be not deceived. God is not mocked. For whatsoever man soweth, that shall he also reap. And verse 8 tells us that, for he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption, but he that soweth to the Spirit shall of this Spirit reap life everlasting. So it's encouraging us to sow unto everlasting life to the Spirit. Is discouraging us to sow to the flesh. What is the flesh? That part that basically leaves God out. The part that wants to do its own thing, do whatever it wants to do, that doesn't really want to hear what God has to say about it. That's the flesh. But God says that'll always lead to death. But when we sow to the Spirit, we are listening to the voice of the Spirit, and we are in tune, and it's going to lead to life and peace. And so that's where we want to be, right? So it's a call to question ourselves, ask ourselves, how is my sowing life? Because I'm going to reap what I sow. So having said that, is the same thing with our health, right? If you adopt a healthy lifestyle and you're, making the efforts to exercise, to eat healthy, to sleep, to do all those things that we know to do that we don't always do. If you consistently do that, and in the next 10 years, 5, 10, whatever, however many years, you will see the benefit, right? And in the other extreme, if you are eating pizza every single day, eating just bad, unhealthy foods, and you don't exercise, you don't adopt any healthy lifestyle, so you're going to reap the benefits of that. Rather, the disadvantage of that is that you're not going to have a healthy body, and also is going to lead to, downhill of your health. So I want to encourage you and all of us that we sow good things so that we can reap good things. Because what did I say is going to happen? Whatever you sow, you're going to reap, and you're always going to reap it later, and usually more. So having said that, let's take a toll on our sowing. It's just God's law, sowing and reaping. So I want to encourage you to sow good, and by God's grace, He will bless it. And I also want to remind you, many of you may not know that we have a holistic health program for women, faith-driven women in business or ministry. Our goal is basically to achieve and walk in optimal health. And we deal with, mind, body, and soul health. So if you want to have a conversation with me about that, feel free to connect with me. And I'll put a link on this video and let's have a conversation, talk about it. So I want you to join our little group, our community, and just grow together and really walk and achieve optimal health of the mind, body, and soul. I want to invite you to join us. Okay? Have a blessed weekend. Until next time. Bye-bye.